In the theater of global politics, words can carry as much weight as actions. Welcome back to the channel, where we break down the most pressing global events and their far-reaching consequences. Today, we're focusing on a dramatic escalation in the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the equally dramatic response from US President Donald Trump. Following Russia's deadliest strikes on Kyiv since last summer, Trump took to Truth Social with a direct message to Russian President Vladimir Putin: "Vladimir, stop." This statement has sparked intense debate about the role of the United States in the ongoing war and the effectiveness of diplomacy in the face of escalating violence. To understand the significance of Trump's statement, we need to revisit the context of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, the war has claimed thousands of lives, displaced millions, and reshaped the geopolitical landscape. Despite numerous attempts at negotiation, the conflict shows no signs of abating. In recent months, Kyiv has faced relentless attacks, with Russian forces targeting civilian infrastructure and residential areas. The latest strikes, described as the deadliest since last summer, have left at least 8 people dead and dozens injured, according to Ukrainian officials. The timing of these strikes is particularly noteworthy. They come amid ongoing peace talks brokered by the United States, with Trump positioning himself as a key mediator. However, the negotiations have been fraught with challenges, including deep-seated mistrust between the parties and disagreements over territorial concessions. Trump's statement, "Vladimir, stop," reflects his frustration with the lack of progress and his desire to see an immediate end to the violence. Trump's response to the latest escalation has been a mix of condemnation and calls for action. In his Truth Social post, he described the strikes as not necessary and very bad timing, urging Putin to halt the assault and focus on achieving a peace deal. He also highlighted the human cost of the conflict, noting that 5,000 soldiers a week are dying. This direct and personal appeal to Putin is characteristic of Trump's unorthodox diplomatic style, which often relies on public statements and personal relationships to influence outcomes. However, Trump's approach has not been without controversy. Critics argue that his public criticism of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, whom he accused of prolonging the war by rejecting a US peace proposal, undermines Ukraine's position in the negotiations. The proposal, which reportedly involves ceding control of Russian-occupied territories to Moscow, has been met with resistance from Kyiv, which views it as a betrayal of its sovereignty. Trump's comments have fueled speculation about his priorities in the conflict and his willingness to pressure Ukraine into making concessions. While the political and diplomatic dimensions of the conflict dominate headlines, it's important to remember the human cost of the war. The latest strikes on Kyiv have devastated families and communities, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. For the residents of Ukraine's capital, the constant threat of violence has become a grim reality. Schools, hospitals, and homes have been reduced to rubble, and the psychological toll on survivors is immeasurable. The international community has condemned the strikes, with leaders from Europe and beyond calling for an immediate end to the violence. Humanitarian organizations are working tirelessly to provide aid to those affected, but the scale of the crisis is overwhelming. The war has created one of the largest refugee crises in recent history, with millions of Ukrainians forced to flee their homes in search of safety. Geopolitical implications. The latest escalation in the Russia-Ukraine conflict has far-reaching implications for global geopolitics. For Russia, the strikes on Kyiv are a show of force, aimed at demonstrating its military capabilities and pressuring Ukraine to accept its terms in the negotiations. However, the attacks have also drawn international condemnation, further isolating Moscow on the world stage. For the United States, the conflict represents a delicate balancing act. On one hand, the Biden administration has provided substantial military and financial aid to Ukraine, signaling its commitment to supporting Kyiv's defense. On the other hand, Trump's calls for a peace deal reflect a desire to bring the conflict to a swift resolution, even if it means making difficult compromises. This dual approach has sparked debate about the US's role in the conflict and its long-term strategy for dealing with Russia. The strikes have also highlighted the limitations of diplomacy in resolving the conflict. Despite numerous rounds of negotiations, a lasting ceasefire remains elusive. the latest escalation underscores the challenges of achieving peace in a deeply divided region, where historical grievances and geopolitical rivalries run deep. The role of NATO and Europe. The conflict has also tested the unity and resolve of NATO and European allies. In response to the latest strikes, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has called for increased support for Ukraine, urging member states to boost defense spending and provide additional military aid. European leaders, including German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and French President Emmanuel Macron, have echoed these calls, emphasizing the need for a coordinated response to Russian aggression. However, the war has also exposed divisions within the alliance. While some countries, such as Poland and the Baltic states, have taken a hardline stance against Russia, others have been more cautious, wary of escalating tensions further. These differences have complicated efforts to present a united front and have raised questions about the future of NATO's role in the conflict. Looking ahead, as the conflict enters its fourth year, the path to peace remains uncertain. The latest escalation has underscored the urgency of finding a resolution, but the road ahead is fraught with challenges. For Ukraine, the stakes are existential. The country's survival as a sovereign nation depends on its ability to withstand Russian aggression and secure a favorable outcome in the negotiations. For Russia, the conflict is a test of its resilience and resolve. Despite facing severe economic sanctions and international isolation, Moscow has shown no signs of backing down. The strikes on Kyiv are a stark reminder of its willingness to use force to achieve its objectives, even at great cost. For the United States and its allies, the conflict is a test of their commitment to upholding international norms and supporting democratic values. The decisions made in the coming weeks and months will have far-reaching implications for the global order and the future of US-Russia relations. Conclusion. Trump's statement, "Vladimir, stop," is a powerful reminder of the stakes involved in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. It reflects the frustration and urgency felt by leaders and citizens alike as they grapple with the devastating consequences of the war. While the path to peace remains uncertain, the international community must continue to work tirelessly to find a resolution that upholds Ukraine's sovereignty and ensures lasting stability in the region. If you found this analysis insightful, please like this video and subscribe for more updates on global events and their implications. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Trump's approach will lead to progress in the negotiations, or is it a sign of the challenges ahead? Let's continue the conversation as we navigate these complex times together. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay engaged, and remember, every decision made on the global stage has the potential to shape our collective future. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and always strive for a deeper understanding of the forces shaping our world.